Flashbacks. Past players, past legends.
We welcome Roger James, a.k.a. Lord Voldemort. We'll come back to that, though. So, Rog, just 76 games, 67 goals for Norwood, 147 games, 87 goals for Port Adelaide. Certainly their best finals player in 2004. 53 games, only 262 goals for Kersbrook, Rog. And, of course, 79 games and 143 goals for Barossa District. So only about half the number of games as your illustrious brother, though, Rog. I think your injuries caught up with you a lot more than Brett, and I think poor young Archie's had more injuries already than Brett did in his entire life.
Yeah, I think you're right there with Archie. He's had a bit of a bad trot. So
that's just for people out there. That's Brett's lad, and he's broken his arm again. So is that second or third time?
I think he's done his wrist a couple of times and now. His wrist a couple of times and now his arm. So I think he's been 3 years in a row.
Yeah, terrible luck.
So, mate, we might start off with your juniors. You obviously started that at Kersbrook there?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, started down at Kersbrook and played a few years there. I did have 1 year at Tea Tree Gully in the under-9s and then went back to Kersbrook. So, played all my junior career at Norwood, at Kersbrook, and then obviously did all my underage at Norwood as well.
You had a bit of luck in your bad luck in your first year where you, in 93, in the 17s, where you did a stress fracture of your left shin, Rog. It's a bit of a weird injury, that one.
It is, mate. I remember just kicking footies around and it was getting sorer and sorer, and in the end, I just couldn't even kick footies, and it was, I think it was the wet weather got to me as well because the ball was a bit heavier and I couldn't work out what was going on. And, in the end, I had a stress fracture. So I think I ended up missing, I would have been 8 or 10 weeks.
Yeah, you must have done a decent job of it. And then, of course, so 94, you really start to come the own. You win the 19s, best and fairest, played a combination, 19s of reserves. Should have made your league debut. So a good year then. And then, of course, in 95, you really arrived with a bang. You made the Advertiser Team of the Year in your first season, which is very unusual. And, of course, unfortunately, we lost the prelim final to Centrals as well.
Yeah, I obviously 94 was a bit of a weird one for me. I started playing resis, and I did actually get told I was close to playing league footy at one stage. And then I had an incident on a Thursday night training session where I wasn't listening and Craigie kicked me off the oval.
Yes. I wasn't going to bring that one up, actually, yes.
Yeah, I thought I'd bring it up.
No,
most people
good
don't
on
know
your
the
honesty.
story, so,
Yep.
And then he kicked me off the training tack.
Did he actually get you off the oval?
Yeah, he told me to go in. So
wow.
I got kicked off. So I walked off. Went to apologise after training. Wouldn't have a bar of it. And then the next Saturday, 5 minutes into the reserves games, I got dragged and never came back on, and then spent most of the rest of the year in the 19th.
Bizarre.
Wow.
So that was,
Craigie had his Craigie did have some moments like that.
Yeah. But saying that, I think he was trying to teach me a lesson of, and I understand why he probably kicked me off that night. He was telling a story and I wasn't sort of listening. So, he taught me a lesson. It was a 12-month lesson, but 95, obviously, I had a pretty good year under him. And
then you're one of the 4 players where you got approached, and you've been approached by a number of AFL clubs, but decided to sign the 4-year deal with the newly formed Port Adelaide. And so there was yourself, Michael Wilson, Warren Tredray, and Peter Burgoyne. And as Bucky Cunningham said, it's the best 20 grand Port Adelaide have ever spent with that fine to nail you guys down beforehand. He was an astute administrator, Bucky.
Oh, Bucky was a legend, mate. Yeah, he obviously there was a few of us that did sign that 4-year deal. So, and like you said, we all end up playing in that premiership. So it was a pretty smart idea by Bucky.
Oh, Jeez, well and truly. So 96, you did your collarbone. You missed the prelim final, the bloody Scott Hodges game. So
Yeah.
yes. I was in hospital then, Rog. I was actually reasonably crook. And as when Hodges kicked the goal, let's just say a radio may have come off second best, and a nurse sprinted into the room at Burnside, and because she thought I'd collapsed, and then it was football, is that all? And my reply certainly made sure I wasn't going to win the Patient of the Month award at Burnside Hospital, mate. So, yes.
No, it was a shattering day from us for the Norwood fans.
Yes. So, 97. So you missed Port's first game, but you came in and debuted against Brisbane.
Yeah, I missed. I actually played some pretty good pre-season footy for Port, and then I can't remember if I did a quad or something like that. But missed round one. Unfortunate, because that would have been a buzz to play in the first game, but missed that. And I think I ended up playing about round 5 against Brisbane. So, and ended up winning that day. I think it was a really close game, and I think Stephen Paxman saved us in the final moment.
That's right. I do remember that now. Yeah.
Yeah, he took on about 2 blokes coming out of fullback and smothered stuff, and somehow won the footy and turned it over and saved the day for us. So yeah, a bit of a buzz for my first game.
Well and truly. But then, of course, more importantly, you'd played enough games to qualify for Norwood, mate. So
Yeah,
yes.
exactly.
Yes.
I think I played 17 AFL and 3 or 4 for Norwood.
You only had to play 3 to qualify.
Yeah, just to qualify. So I went back and played finals, and mate, well, lucky enough, Brett had played enough as well. So we're both pretty lucky to get back there and play finals together.
Yeah, quite incredible, because I think you probably played about 8 or 9 games between the two of you to play for Norwood. Both come back, and yeah, as you both, two of you both should have, you well and truly Norwood people, but delivered in spades, and yeah, a great memory.
Oh, it was a fantastic memory. I mean, Brett did it on a bigger scale, coming from an AFL grand final and then playing in an SNFL one. But for me, like I think Brett, I listened to him the other week on this podcast, that when we were growing up, Norwood was everything for us. To actually win a premiership, like Brett said, was everything. So to get that moment and actually do it was unreal.
So just to go back a step, did you play together a lot, obviously, for Kersbrook, and then obviously followed your way through to Norwood?
No, we didn't actually, because every year I went up, he went up as well. So
you probably play, and you wouldn't have played at all, of course, with Paul till later either.
No. I think one of our first games all together was 2004. I think we all played together at South Adelaide one game.
Wow.
And I reckon that was probably one of our our first game together, I think.
Wow. So does that make then the 97 Premiership together even more special?
Oh, for sure. To do it with your brother, I mean, to win a flag is everything, but if you can do it with your brother, it makes it extra special. So.
Oh, look, and the fact you were, Norwood people, as I said last week, and it's probably a bit easier that it's you than Brett. Brett's speech with being inducted in the Norwood Hall of Fame, and where he really hammered the point that how much the 97 Norwood Premiership, and it meant more to him than the AFL bit. And there was a few of us, pretty, just absolutely. It was a fantastic speech that night, and it really came from the heart, didn't it?
Oh, most definitely, mate. And obviously, I mean, you look at him now, and he's still mad Norwood. Like, we talk footy, and I mean, I know we're having a pretty disappointing year this year, but we're still mad Norwood, and every time I drive past the parade, you get goosebumps. I don't know why. It's just that feeling of the parade.
Oh, don't worry, he still checks out to make sure he can outrun the other opposition's runner in the under 16 each week. He has a glimpse across to see their fitness. Yes. So from there, and that 98, you got injured as well, and that, and of course 99, and I've always supported you on this one, that pass where bloody Tom Carr spoiled, and so that was a frustrating game. But now we've got to the point here, Pete, where I said there was a point with Roger. It's not quite as funny as Brett's ending up playing for Adelaide.
I've waited to hear this one all night.
Tips, but give us a story. What happened? You were into 99. You're off for a drive from Linddoch to Alberton, and what was about to happen and what did happen, Rog?
That was actually at the end of 98.
Sorry. Yep.
Obviously the trade period had started, and I didn't have a great year. So at the start of 98, I done my knee. I took over 50% of my cartilage out, and it really niggled me all year. So I had another clean out at the end of it, and Port were willing to trade me. So trade week came, final day, Carlton were interested. So I think they were going to try and do a deal. Jared Cotton and myself were going to go to Carlton. And I talked to my wife, well, not wife at the time, she was waiting, still my missus. And we talked about it, and I was like, well, I think it's my only option, that Port don't really want me. Carlton do, so we're going to go. So that day we'd made up our mind that we were going. My manager at the time was Ian Brown, which is a full-on Norwood bloke back in the day as well.
Right. Yep.
And he'd come up to Kersbrook actually, and we'd been talking about it. And we drove down from Kersbrook, got to Modbury, and Port rang us. And this was only half an hour or an hour before the deadline. And they said, look, the deal's fallen through. Carlton have taken Matthew Lappin. Enjoy your time at Port. So I still had, I think, a year to go on my contract. I don't know how I felt about that, but I thought, well, not sure if Port are really that keen on me. But obviously 99 came around, and I'd played a fair bit of footy at Norwood in 99. I think I played most of the first half of the year at Norwood.
Yep.
And then I finally got a gig. I played West Coast, I think over there, played probably a quarter, got dropped. And then finally, I think I was an emergency for a Collingwood game on a Friday night in MCG. Someone pulled out. I actually played all right. And, eventually
went.
held my spot and away I went. So,
and who was the coach for you during that time there?
In 99, it was Choco.
Yeah.
How did you find Choco and his methods?
Loved Choco, yep. He was actually a school teacher, so he the way he did stuff, it was easy to learn, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
The way he explained stuff, and he went out of his way to make sure you knew what you were doing as well. So I was wrapped with Choco as a coach.
And you also rated the late Phil Walsh in terms of his ability to explain structures and setups and all that, Rog.
Oh, for sure. Walshy was on top of his game. He was one of the first blokes to bring in the video stuff with all our clearances. He'd go through it, and he nailed everything on the head so well. So we'd go out and do stoppages, and he'd tell you where to stand, how to stand, where to position yourself. Because you've already watched it on the screen, everything made sense, and it was easy for you, if you know what I mean. He was unreal, Phil Walsh.
Do you think the late great Phil Walsh would have won a premiership with the Crows if he was allowed to finish what he started?
Oh, mate, I definitely think he would have took him close for sure.
Yep.
Yeah. And now, Rog, you had a couple of big games against Brisbane overall when you delivered the chocolates a couple of times.
Yeah, a couple of times. I was lucky enough in 2002, our last minor round game. I think it was for the minor premiership that, I ended up playing all right. And luckily enough, I think I kicked the winning goal with a couple of minutes to go.
Yeah.
So,
and then
I think it was the next year. I think we played them up there.
Yes.
Mid 2003. Bit of a different one, but I kicked the final 2 points for the game, so that got us over the line.
Still counts.
A win's a win. Yep.
Win's a win, yeah, exactly.
And then, so let's go through to, you've now got established, and it was actually ironic with all those injury problems you had early. Then your body seemed to adjust, and away you went. So you played 24 games in 2000, 24 in 01, 24 in 02. So it was incredible that it went from one extreme to the other. And then you kicked the goal to secure the minor premiership, 17 games in 03, and then 19 in 04. And your final series for Port Adelaide in 04, and this is where the Lord Voldemort nickname comes from, because it's all Roger's fault that Port won the premiership. that his first, against St Kilda, this doesn't get enough praise around the footy traps. How some person can have 8 of the first 12 touches of their team's touches was incredible. It was really a Wayne Johnson, the dominator performance. Kevin Bartlett an 80, and that
brought his own ball, and nobody wanted to go near him.
You won Port's Best in Finals award, but the prelim final, when those ruddy St Kilda supporters ran on to celebrate Gehrig's 100 when Port were just about gone. So that's got to be where you sit back and just glow now that just what a vital part you were, and it's got to be your crowning glory to, in retrospect to a large extent, Rog.
Yeah, I mean, I did play a big part in that game, I suppose, but like you said, I think Fraser's 100th goal helped us a fair bit so we could regroup. I mean, I know it was only, I think he kicked the first two of the game, and then, scored his 100, and everyone comes screaming onto the oval, and we sort of regrouped. And then I think we actually went bang, bang and kicked 2 in a row to equal it, and then we're back on track. So, but yeah, I was lucky enough to play pretty well. But I look back then, and if you watch the game, there was a heap of us that played really well.
Bullshit. Stop downplaying it, Lord Voldemort. It's your fault.
Wangers in the last quarter kicked a couple of fantastic goals. Yeah. Michael Wilson was courageous as ever. Shawnee Burgoyne, what he does all the time, saved us a goal late. But, I mean, you could talk forever about just about everyone that played that day.
Well, that was a great game too, actually.
Oh, mate, it was a cracker. I don't think it got over 11 points for the night.
And I was going to ask, obviously, with Sir Doug Nichols round this weekend, Gavin Wanganeen, I was going to ask, playing next to Gav would have been an absolute treat.
Oh, to tell you the truth, to play with all the Aboriginals was a treat. For some reason, they have something special about them. They can do stuff that no one else can do. I mean, I was lucky enough to play with a heap of them. Gavin, the Burgoynes, Pickett, Shea Cockatoo Collins. Yeah. There's a heap of them, and they were all special. They can do special stuff. But obviously Gavin, he was probably extra special.
It's just his ability to twist his body and
contort,
weird positions and then deliver. And it was funny because that night against St Kilda, he hadn't done much, but he delivered when it counted.
Yeah, he had a saying back in the day that he could just flick the switch, and he was one bloke that could.
That was at Footy Park.
Turn it on.
That was at Footy Park, wasn't it? Yeah.
It was at Footy Park. Yep.
So 2005, your knee wasn't great, and you only played 10 games. Then you go for a meeting at Peter Rhodes' house, and you thought it was a bit of a just to catch up with Rhodey and a chit chat for a head, and tell us what then happened, mate.
Yeah, well, obviously, end of 04, I had a knee operation. They took the rest of my cartilage out, and then did this new operation that didn't seem to work. But struggled all year. I think I ended up playing 10 games, like you said. And then Rhodey had been trying to contact me or catch up and just generally ask me how I'm going and whatnot. And I was like, catch up. Couldn't catch up. And then one day he said, we'll catch up at mine. We'll have a coffee. I was like, yep, no worries. He was living at Dulwich at the time. So I rocked up. He goes, you want a coffee? Yeah, no worries. And then he's like, Choco will be here in a minute. And that's when alarm bells started ringing. I was like, shit, this ain't good.
Wow.
And then Choco being Choco, he came out and explained it straight away and said, look, your body's buggered, letting yourself like it's letting you down. I'm going to play kids for the rest of the year. If I can give you a farewell game, I will. that didn't eventuate. But yeah, that was the end of my AFL career.
That's an unusual way to be told that your AFL career is coming to an end. Obviously, with Rhodey being there and also Choco.
Tell you what, though, at least the coach had the balls to do it himself, not handballing it to someone else.
This is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. It's quite an unusual way of doing it, but wow, that's great that he's looked you right in the eye and said, look, this is what we think, this is what we're doing, and this is how we're going to do it.
Yeah, mate, I respect Choco for doing that. And in a space of probably 15 or 20 minutes, I went from playing AFL, thinking I was going to play next year, to absolutely nothing. So I ended up playing, I think, the last 2 or 3 games at Norwood for the year. Trying, but I probably shouldn't have even tried to play those games. My knee was that sore. But I ended up playing 2 or 3 games with Brett and Paul. So that's the only probably reason I did it.
Trying to also, let's go back. One thing with Norwood, I reckon it was South Adelaide, the game where we thought you were going to drown in the Cooper's Corner pocket, Rod.
Yeah. No, that was against Central Districts in 1995.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was myself and Daniel Healy. We
slid into that corner, didn't you?
Yeah, the old drain wasn't working too well on that pocket by the pine tree, so she was sort of half flooded. She was a wet and wintry day, that one, and
the ball was there.
It was a great photo. I think it won Photo of the Year or something at some stage. So I've got it at home here somewhere. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Just continuing on with your AFL career, we obviously spoke with your brother last week, and you guys obviously didn't stand on each other too much during the showdowns, but you knew each other were on the ground. Who got the upper hand, do you think?
It's a hard one. I know he won a couple of battles, but I know a couple of times I won a couple as well. So
yeah, I just don't think you really stood each other for very long. It was just
there was only parts of 5 or 10 minutes here and there.
But you knew he was there, and he's probably going to be behind you at some stage to tackle you.
Yeah, exactly. You sort of knew where he was all the time. So that was probably in the back of your mind. Don't get caught by Brett. But I know one day he did catch me. So yeah, he probably won that day.
We'll call it a nil.
He's on a motorbike, was he? To catch you. Jeez, the knee must have been crook, mate.
Yeah. We'll call it a 0-0 draw.
And then you did a bit of coaching onto the coaching world to start off assistant coach. So Norwood, and then a year under Jars as well at North Adelaide.
Yeah, I had 2006. I didn't play footy anywhere. I had an assistant coaching role under Trevor Hill. So that was good to go back to Norwood. That was enjoyable. And then I thought, I'm going back to Kersbrook. Brett had retired. Paul had retired.
Yep.
At the end of 06, and I was like, well, we're all going back to Kersbrook to play footy. So we all played together in 07, 08 and 09. So that was a bit of a buzz. I did have a year at North Adelaide with Jars in 08. That was really, really good fun. And then Jars got sacked. So that was the end of that. And then, I went back home to Kersbrook and played.
Was Jars just as entertaining on the ground as he was off the ground?
He was. He was actually a really good coach. So I don't actually know why they got rid of him in the end, but he was really good, Jars.
And then at Kersbrook, and you played in a few flags together as well, the three of you, and it would have been great fun to play with, and great for chance for Apples to have a kick and a catch with you two as well.
Oh, exactly. As soon as Brett and Paul retired from Norwood, that was our goal, was to all go back and play together. So we had 3 years there. I played bits and pieces in 08, obviously, because I was down at North. But we had 3 years, and we won flags in 08 and 09.
Yep. And
then, I eventually moved on and went coaching in the country by myself,
Yeah, Barossa District. Yeah. Go through that. You coached a flag too, Rog?
Yeah, lucky enough, I got 2 flags at Barossa. So I went there in 2010 as a playing coach, and I ended up there for 6 years. So we made the grand final in 2010 and got smacked by Tanunda. They won pretty comfortably. 2011, I think we actually got to the I was going to say it was a prelim, but it's not a prelim. It was a semi or something like that. And we got done for playing 19 players, and it got our score wiped at 3/4 time.
Can you hurry up and arrange that for North Adelaide so we can still win the flag in 18?
Well, I was going to say, our scores got wiped.
Yeah.
So, and then lucky enough, 2012 came along. I think Tanunda were going for their 4th or 5th in a row, and we came from 4th and knocked them off in the GF. So it was a pretty big buzz. And then we backed up in the following year in 13 and won that as well. So
and
pretty good times at Barossa.
Yeah, and so you actually also mentioned too, I remember you mentioning about where you were having an average year and then you won a game out of the blue, and it's one of your favourite footy memories.
Yeah, that was 2015. So after we went back-to-back, we lost a heap of players, probably up to maybe 11 A graders. So we really struggled. I think we won the Spoon in 14.
Yep.
And then in 2015, we hadn't won a game, and I think it was around maybe 14 or 15. We played Gawler Centrals, who were top, and we managed to win that game. And that, like, coming from a year or two of not winning too many games, to win that and beat the top team at home was probably one of my highlights, considering we were such a young team. And, yeah, it was just a massive buzz for the club that day and one of my favourite moments of the club.
Yeah, no, I get that. I remember the same, obviously at a lower level, just playing self with Adelaide Union. We'd lost 14 in a row, and we won out of the blue. Mm-hmm. And, yeah, we celebrated that night. I reckon I celebrated that night as much as I did with any flag I played in.
So did we. Trust us.
Yeah, I think it's more the weird bit, the unexpected, and it's just kabang and into it, sort of thing. And it obviously hasn't had the build up of a grand final, so you're probably not as tense about it. And the winner was West End and Coopers that night. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And then you gone through. So you coached Udunda Robertson as well.
Yeah, Udunda Robertstown. I went up there for 2 years. That was very enjoyable. The people up there were fantastic. We didn't win flags or anything like that. I think the best result was 3rd. But the people up there were just amazing people. And I've got friendships for life up there. Great people.
And you've been involved with Freeling now for a while, with with Dom Shepley. So
with Dom,
bit of fun there.
Yeah, a bit of fun there. I had 2018 off, and then I called in late 2018, and Dom was like, "You interested in actually getting back into footy?" I was like, "You know what? I think I am." And Scott Dutchke was coaching at the time, so I ended up helping Scott in 2019. So that's how I got to Freeling. I ended up staying there for 4 years.
So now, what's the sporting world now? So with Kirsten, with obviously your lovely wife Kirsten, and MJ, Billy, and Indy, what are they up to, mate?
Yeah, mate. So sad days. I got no footy these days. This is my first year sort of out of footy, and sad days are spent running around with kids. So I got Billy that does gymnastics. She gets dropped off at Teacher Gully at 8:00. Indy plays netball down at Tango at 10:00 or something like that at Mile End. And then MJ's doing a course in the city. So we are flat stick on a Saturday.
Yeah, a bit of fun, mate. So
yeah, it's a bit different to watching footy.
First Saturday's off for quite some time by the sounds of it.
Yeah, it is actually. And it's enjoyable too, not to stress about, training and recruiting and doing all that sort of stuff. So, and to spend some more time with the family is always good.
What are you doing for work these days, mate?
Me and a mate Alex, we've got a civil business together.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, so
you've been doing that for a while, haven't you?
Yeah, probably the last 10 years or so with him.
Yep.
Yeah.
And does that mean the work commitments have sort of taken over the footy commitments?
Yeah, for sure, mate. We are flat stick at the moment. We're doing a subdivision in Gawler at the moment, so we can't even scratch our head at the moment. We're that busy.
All right, Rog. Best players played with?
Played with? Well, you can't go past Macca.
Yep.
at Norwood. But Port-wise, I mean, I played with some really good ones. You got Wanganines, Burgoynes, Josh Franco's up there. But the best player I played with is with probably Treaders.
Yeah. Michael
Treaders,
Wilson.
mate.
Where did Michael Wilson in terms of courage? Michael
Mate,
with
you don't
Macca.
for sure. You don't get tougher than Michael Wilson. Like he just never backed out of a contest. He played with broken shoulders. He was, as they say, he was Port Adelaide.
Oh, he's incredible. Like, didn't he play? So the 07 grand final, okay, obviously terrible day for Port. Enjoyable day for a lot of us, but yeah, terrible day for Port. But Wilson's shoulders were just absolutely stuffed, and he was just incredible as a competitor.
Nah, that was 04.
Oh, sorry, 04. Yeah.
That was 04. I think he missed 07 because he snapped his Achilles in the finals before that.
That's right.
But 04, he couldn't even lift his shoulders.
And yet still delivered.
Still delivered. Yep, that was him all over. And even in the prelim, 2004 prelim against St Kilda, if you watch the game, he ran back with the flight twice into traffic, I think. And, yeah, I mean, unreal. Just didn't shirk it.
As immensely respected as anyone in the footy traps, I reckon, Michael Wilson.
Absolutely.
Matty Primus
and
is
just
a ruckman.
Genuinely great bloke, Wilbur.
Yeah, I don't think I've actually ever respect him enormously, but I don't think I've ever even met him. But, yeah, loved him as a footballer. Yeah, how couldn't you with just how passionate he was?
Absolutely.
And anyone who puts their body where fear should have interrupted is just immensely respected. The Mattress is a ruckman as well.
Oh, Matty, yeah. I was lucky enough to play with him in 95 at Norwood.
Yeah.
So, obviously, he left and went to Fitzroy in 96, had a year over there, and then lucky enough he came back to Port. So, just an outstanding athlete, Matty Primus. And most people, a beautiful bloke. But as a ruckman, one thing I learnt one day with Matty was if he was hitting it somewhere and he told you to get there, you got there. I know this one time he said, look, just get to that spot. The ball bounced sideways and I was like, he's not going to get there. I've run to a different spot. He's got it to that spot, turned around and abused the hell out of me. So I thought, well, if he's going to hit it there, I'm just going to go wherever he hits
can't
it.
argue with that, can you?
Can't argue with that. And more often than not, he would get it to wherever he wanted to go.
Now, I think the most shattering thing with Matty Primus was that he getting with his then girlfriend, now wife, because before that, you don't get the nickname of Mattress for nothing. And as Norwood supporters, after a game, the highlight was what was Matty going to bring along that night? And geez, he delivered on a few occasions.
Mate, he was a good-looking rooster.
Best players played against, mate?
Played against? Oh, that's a hard one. Like, there's so many of them. Like, you look at Brisbane, they're on Bull Brigade back in the day, the Fab Four.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, really they had more than four because Powell wasn't even involved in that. I think Lukey Powell.
Yeah.
But you got blokes like Scott West. I mean, Robert Harvey. I mean, the list goes on. You can't really nail anyone down, if you know what I mean.
We often have a Mount Rushmore of players that we pick. So we pick 3 or 4 because, it does get quite difficult to name those players that you've played against. But, the Brisbane Fab Four would certainly be up there in most people's lists, I would imagine.
Yeah, well, you look at them and they all won Brownlows. You got Voss, Ackermanis, Black. They all won. And Lappin, he was the one that didn't. But tell you what, he could play as well.
He was a gun as well. They were doing pretty intimidating for that grand final beforehand, thinking, who have I got out of those 4 and what roles I will have. But, you guys well and truly, you delivered on that day. And, Brisbane missed a few early, but you guys got on top and you had the game under your control, really, from probably reasonably early in the third quarter.
Yeah, I think we got off to a really good start. And then Brisbane came charging back. So by half-time, I think Brisbane had hit the front. And they were up by, I think, a couple of points at half-time.
But then the third quarter,
Third quarter came. Halfway through the third, we started to get on top. And then I think Wangers kicked two late goals in the third that got us up. And then he kicked another 2 early in the last. And sort of away we went. So we knew we could outrun them. we always had tremendous games with Brisbane, so we always knew it was going to be close. And they were lucky enough that they had a few injuries too. So towards the end of the day, they were slowing down, and we just kept powering on.
Just let the listeners in. What's the preparation like that? Obviously, Brisbane going along beautifully at the time. You guys were all given specific assignments?
Yeah, we all knew what our roles were, for sure.
And was that Choco, or was that more...
it was a combination of all the assistant coaches,
Yep.
Choco. We did so much research. We had video evidence of how we wanted to do stuff, how we wanted to move the footy, how they played. So by game day, it was drilled into you. You knew exactly what you were doing.
I reckon David Pitto was involved in as
Pitto
well.
was a ruck coach. Yeah, Pitto was a ruck coach. So.
Isn't it amazing that was probably the start of where teams were scouting other teams on a more regular basis with a lot more video analysis? Yeah,
exactly. And I think, well, I'm not sure about this, but I think Phil Walsh was one of the first ones to do it. So he was before his time, Phil Walsh. And
now it's just stock standard for every game that they play.
Oh, exactly. Everyone does it now. And they probably
go overboard on it now.
Overboard on it now. Now they protect the players. They can't kick the footy so many times, and it gets a bit full on now.
What about coaches, mate? We've talked about players that you've played with and against. Coaches?
Obviously, at Norwood, I had Craigie. I had Rhodey as well for a bit. And then I had John Cale at the start of Port. And then Choco was the most of my time at Port. So I was pretty lucky to have some pretty fantastic coaches alongside of some wonderful assistant coaches like Phil Walsh. Dean Bailey was there for a while, Alistair Clarkson, Jeff Morris. I mean, the list goes on. They were all wonderful coaches.
Yeah, I've got a lot of time for Jeff Morris. I spent a bit of time with him around now because, he's still with his scouting and, commentating a bit of the fair few of the junior games. So I'm probably been at more junior games the last couple of years than I'd been previously for a long, long time. So, I actually sit with Jeff at games, and he is a great man.
He is a great man. I remember he used to come, like me and Dewey, do some extra training, and old Jeff Morris, he'd come around and limp along with us and do the work. He was wonderful. He'd help you out any way possible, old Jeff Morris.
He's a bloody good player too, don't worry about that.
He was. Yeah, real good player.
Yeah.
Unbelievable kick too.
Yes. Hey, Rog, greatly appreciated.
Thank you, mate.
No worries.
I'm solo to Apple, probably solo to Kirsten, and all the best to the thing. And yes, as I said, the Lord Voldemort nickname is in affection to with Roger, and I think Roger's got me stored because he's used to me calling him that in his phone, stored in that way. So it's a bit of fun between us. So thanks, Rod. Greatly appreciated.
No worries. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, mate.